of a belligerent passenger causing sheer chaos in the air. And it got so bad that flight attendants had to duct tape the man to his seat. Ever since masks were required on airplanes, flight attendants say that their work has become downright dangerous.
Now understand something. We about to mummy by your ass. Now, boy. We about to mummy by your ass. So we wrapped them up. Mummy by your ass. Now, boy. We about to mummy by your ass. So we wrapped them up. This man smell like a pack of Marlboro cigarettes. 4 shots of Everclear alcohol and regret. If you push us too far, you're gonna have to again this ass whoop. He's spitting and cussing and going crazy. Oh, wait, stop it. It's when he touched my titties, cause I don't play that. So what I did is I took out the duct tape. I said, he got scared, start stuttering, say, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right. I say, yeah, I understand something. We about to mummy by your ass. Now, boy, we about to mummy by your ass. So we wrapped them up. Mummy by your ass. Now, boy, we about to mummy by your ass. So we wrapped them up. I understand something. Sometimes our job has us attending to crazy people.
My parents are on $2 million.
And I'm just looking at them at the damn food.
My grandfather is worth
I say, that's enough. I got up and I walked over there. I know something's about to go down. Wait, stop that. It's when he touched my titties, cause I don't play that. So what I did is I took out the duct tape. I said, he got scared, start stuttering, say, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right. I say, yeah, I understand something. We about to mummy by your ass. Now, boy, we about to mummy by your ass. So we wrapped them up. Mummy by your ass. Now, boy, we about to mummy by your ass. So we wrapped them up.
And now, Matt Wright and Spike Cohen.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to the Vanguard. For Spike, former governor of Massachusetts, Michael Duchachki, Cohen, I am Matt Wright, and together we are traversing the muddied waters of freedom.
I thought you were going to do Massachusetts. And you did.
Oh,
You went for the longer. No, you went for the longer punchline, and I appreciate that. Hey, folks, thanks for tuning into this amazing episode of the Muddied Waters of Freedom. That's tomorrow night. The Muddied Waters of Freedom. Why is it special? Because you're here. This is a Muddy Waters media production. Check us out on everywhere, all social media platforms, all podcasting platforms. Everywhere, muddywatersmedia.com. Check us out all over the internet. Be sure to share this, like this, subscribe, comment, do all of the various algorithm boosting things to make sure that everyone knows just how much you love me and Matt. And we're going to have another opportunity for you to show people how much you love us with money shortly. But we're going to get to that shortly. We're going to get to that shortly. In the meantime, like, share, subscribe, comment, like, share, comment, like, subscribe. And of course, if it's on YouTube, be sure to hit the bell so your phone explodes with notifications every time we go live. Every time. Matt?
First and foremost, allow me to thank the wonderful and fine people at me for the kava that I'm drinking today.
You become so bitter. I'm paying for it, so it's me. I'd like to thank myself for buying this.
Nobody's getting... Oh, actually, Casey Neth, thank you.
Casey Nethster Campbell III.
That's right, Casey Nethster Campbell III.
And I'd like to thank Lible for this delicious water that I pay for, so I guess maybe I should thank myself too. I don't know. Bulivanaka.
I actually know the brand that this is, but I'm not thanking them because they won't give it to me for free.
Well, that's fair. I should probably take the wrapper off this net from the future and say, this water, we have no idea who it's from. We don't know
the bottle that we've all come to know and love.
This bottle that everyone already knows what it is, but it's my damn water that I bought with my money that I work hard for. Now, speaking of great coincidence, we were going to have a festive show where we would auction off a really rare one-of-a-kind item and have fun with our followers and fans and friends here on Muddy Waters. And then an entire country imploded. And obviously we have to talk about that, and it's a very serious thing. So you're probably thinking, there's no way to thread that needle between talking about a very, very unfortunate, tragic event and also having a festive auction at the same time. There's no way that you can both do that together.
There's no way you would attempt doing something so crass.
Well, folks, great news. We're going to be auctioning off this sweet-ass Waffle House Caucus tumbler here that is made by Defy The Power. And it is one of a kind. And why is it one of a kind? Because we've signed it. And also, it is protected with an epoxy coating so that you can wash this 10,000 times, I'm told. 10,000 times.
10,000 times.
10,000 times. You could wash this 5,000 miles, and then you could wash it 5,000 more. And it would still have our signatures on it, something at our door. The design there will also stay on as well because of the epoxy coating that it is protected under. In fact, we don't even have this with us right now because it's receiving yet another epoxy coating, possibly enabling you to wash it 20,000 times. I don't know if that's true, but you can definitely wash it 10,000 times, which is, I mean, that's like 30 years of this thing. You could have it. And it's not dishwasher friendly, although I have washed mine in the dishwasher and it was fine, but I'm not, you probably shouldn't.
You should not do that.
You should not do that, but it's really great. It's official Waffle House Caucus merch and, or merch. Merc, you get merked. And so we're going to be doing an auction on it, and the way we've done our auctions is how we've always done them. We're going to start bidding now, and then we'll continue having bidding, and we'll update regularly on who the highest bid is. And at the end of the show, we will declare the final highest bidder. And whoever the highest bidder is will receive this tumbler. This tumbler.
Now, a couple of fun facts about this tumbler.
Play.
It will keep drinks cold for up to 12 hours, and it will keep drinks hot for up to 10.
Yes.
And this is true. My super fan, Sarah Anderegg, she has multiple from this company, and it is true. It will do both of those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is good. Cold for 10 hours, hot for 12 hours, and lukewarm in perpetuity, which is pretty solid. Unless you're indoors and it's cold or hot. This
all
is...
right, so
go ahead.
Jimmy Lee bid 10, Hicks bid 15, Quidgy Bozdad bid 25 over on the YouTube. So right now, 25. Sorry, Facebook. I know you can't see those comments, but 25 is the current bid over on YouTube, going to Quidgy Bozdad. 30 from Shannon 30 from J. Adam Waits. Thank you, Jay.
So the current high bid is $30.
$30.
We actually have competing, but not 35 from J. Adam Waits. So we're going to let you guys do the bidding for a little bit, and then we're going to go to our sponsors so we can make money two different ways. This episode, of course, is brought to you by the Libertarian Party Waffle House Caucus, the fastest growing caucus and second largest caucus in the Libertarian Party. And if you'd like to become a member of this incredible effort, then go to the Facebook group Libertarian Party Waffle House Caucus. And if you want to become an official voting member, you can go on over to muddywatersmedia.com/store to buy a Waffle House Caucus shirt or a Waffle House Caucus button. Or if you are able to get this tumbler that we're auctioning off, that will also make you an official senior voting member. None of these things mean anything. We don't vote on anything. The Gravy King. Cumberland Cannabis, if you'd like some incredible CBD and Delta-8 products, the most viable, ethical, and effective CBD and Delta-8 products known to mankind, go to CumberlandCannabisCo.com to get some Cumberland Cannabis from Cumberland County. CumberlandCannabisCo.com. Joe Solosky for governor. Joe Solosky is running to be the first libertarian governor ever. He's the key to Pennsylvania's success, and if you want to help him on his quest, go to joesolosky.com. That's JoeSoloski.com. Jack Casey, alleged writer of supposed books, such as The Royal Green and In Silver Throned. Soon, at any minute, I'm told actually already, he has also made another book, Crowned by Gold, which will come out already. If you want to see what these books are about, then you're a better person than me. RoyalGreen.com. I thought so, right?
I mean, I've heard this, but I did not know if it was true. Book 3. Oh, it still says release date.
Whoever told me that was lying.
Yeah. And
by
it
the way,
still
top
has
bid
the
right now. Top bid right now from the Eskimo Libertarian, $69.69. Nice. So if you go to theroyalgreen.com, you can find out if these books are any good, because I'll never read them. Neither will Matt. Speaking of something that horrifies me somewhat, Adderpan. If you want to play a game that is guaranteed to induce psychosis and panic attacks and possible lifelong mental trauma, go to Steam and you can download Adderpan for the low price of $5 and whatever it costs for you to get therapy for the rest of your life, and possibly psychotropic medication and or ketamine. I have done walkthrough gameplay of this game, and my God, why, Kyle? Why? $5 on Steam. Great game there, Adderpan. Lots of jump scares, or as I call them, existential crises. Fierce Luxury by Ashley won't give you an existential crisis because it's shopping therapy. Maybe that'll help you recover from playing Adderpan. FierceLuxuryByAshley.com. They are a high-end bag and accessory company based online, a consignment shop. They carry some of the finest products like Louis Vuitton and Coach and Hermes. 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 If you choose to consign your Hermes with Ashley, then she will do it at a 30% fee, which I am told by Ashley is 20% less than the typical cost for a consignment shop. Would Ashley steer you wrong? No, of course not, because she's fierce and luxurious, just like her consignment shop. FierceLuxuryByAshley.com or the Facebook group Fierce Luxury by Ashley. And speaking of fierce luxury, Thomas Queter is running for state senate in the 52nd district of New York. Thomas Queter runs better than Albany, which is a play on words because he's crippled and in a wheelchair. But he's a great guy, and he is one of the most energetic and incredible people I've ever met in my life. And he will laugh harder than anyone else at what I just said, which is what makes it both uncomfortable and funny. And if you want to help this incredible gem of a human being become the first Libertarian state senator in New York and the best state senator in New York, then go to tomfor52.com. That's TOMFOR52.com. And if you want to is the meme contest still going?
I think they have a new one every month.
Oh, okay. Go to tomfor52.com/FTG for frig the state. FTG. Mudwater, the most appropriately named thing ever for this show. If you woke up today, oh no, we're not doing this yet. We gotta do the.
No, we gotta wait. We gotta wait until. So, how was your weekend?
I had a great weekend. I didn't go anywhere.
Oh, you. Neither did I.
I didn't go anywhere, and so the one thing I did this weekend was I did a filming for a documentary called Divide and Dominate: How the Powerful Steal More Power. It's a documentary about the liberty movement and its attempt to stop the powerful from dividing us. It primarily features Shane Hazel's run for governor, but I'm going to be in it too. And I got a shirt.
Nice.
Yeah. How was your weekend?
My weekend was good. I went over to Adam the Freeman's house, hung out there. He and I talked. He and I talked some business and some stuff, and that way I got to write off the entire weekend. Yeah, it was good. Got to hang out with him, hung out with Sarah. The kids are now back, so did the whole family thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, watched some television, some movies, and just kind of relaxed all weekend. It was fantastic.
That's great. We got a comment from J. Adam Weggs along with a donation. Thank you, Adam. And it says, an orange suitcase with travel stickers.
That means that's an emoji that we don't see in ours. If it's something that makes zero sense, it's... I started a new book.
I was going to say, I mean, we get a lot of comments that don't make sense, so...
Yeah, that's fair. If it comes with money and it doesn't make sense, that means it's an emoji.
Oh, that means it's an emoji? Okay. All right.
I got a new book. I don't remember the name of that book.
Wow. Well, while you're trying to remember the name of the book, Quidgy Buzz asked, when will the documentary be out? So it's planned to be released October of next year, right before the election, because it's covering the Shane Hazel campaign and other assorted Liberty Movement related things in orbit of the Shane Hazel run.
I got a new book written by Derek Willis. Who many of you out there may know. It's called The Liberty Solution, and it's available over on Amazon. And the foreword was written by Walter Block. But it explains libertarianism to the lay person. I'm only a couple of chapters in, but it's really well written so far. I'm into it. I like it. And if you guys want to pick it up, Derek Willis is the author.
And what's it called again?
Liberty Solution. The Liberty Solution. Wills. Derek Wills.
Oh, nice.
Not Willis. I've been reading his name wrong for years now.
And with a foreword by Walter Block.
Yeah. Yep. Great book.
Awesome.
$100 from Sheila Foster. Thank you.
Yes, that's the new high bid, is $100 from Sheila Foster. Thank you, Sheila. And yeah, there's not a good way to segue into this subject, because this isn't... Yeah. It's really just all...
Everything about this show is depressing. When after I finished the notes yesterday, I texted my co-host here, and I said, hey, are you ready for tomorrow's really fun show of, hey, you want to buy this tumbler? Here's some really sad news. Hey, you want to buy this tumbler? Here's some really sad news. Hey, you want to buy this tumbler? Here's more sad news. So get ready for an episode like that.
But it's going to be presented in the cheeriest way possible.
Right. We're going to make it as fun as we possibly can.
We're going to make the reality of this existence as fun and palatable for you, our lovely friends.
BDSM guru just bid 120. And I just put a link to the Derek Wills book in the comments, so everybody should be able to get that if you so choose.
The Adam was apparently able to figure out how to do super chats again. The Scientific Libertarian has bid 20 smeckles, which I think $120 is more than that. But I don't know. I don't think a smeckel's worth $6. Oh, that's a good point. Jacob Helzer said, Spike, if you want to cheer people up after the sad news, you can always talk about Liberty Memes $5 charity club. And that's true. If you go over to Liberty Memes $5 charity club, join that Facebook group. There are all sorts of causes going on. All you have to do is pledge to give at least $5 a month. It's something I'm a big part of. I love it. We do some incredible work. Most of the causes are for things that are, few $100s, couple $1,000s, not insurmountable, and we're able to complete multiple causes per day. It's really incredible. It will actually make you feel a lot better. That is a great point, Jacob. That will definitely make you feel better. So we're gonna go right into this. Yes.
it is time
Now it is time
for the Mudwater.
Hold on. For the Mudwater mushroom coffee replacement cacao rapid fire segment brought to you by Mudwater Coffee Alternative. If you woke up this morning and said, "My God, if I never have another cup of coffee again in my whole godforsaken life, it'll be too soon." Well, folks, that's some great news I have for you, because you can get something that looks and tastes similar to coffee, but is better for you. It has mushrooms in it. It has cacao. It has turmeric. All that stuff's good for you, and it has sea salt.
Did you say it tastes similar to coffee?
I don't like how coffee tastes, so yes.
Okay. Fair.
With enough honey, anything tastes similar to anything else that has a lot of honey in it. That's what I'll say. But it's good for you. It's got less caffeine than coffee, but just enough to wake you up. So if you like how hyper I am and don't want to see me be more hyper, then you would want this. And also it's good. It's neuroprotective, I'm sure. It's got mushrooms, not those kind of mushrooms, but it's good. MuddyWatersMedia.com/mud, and you can get your starter kit today and be just as happy as this man's hand is holding that Mudwater. MuddyWatersMedia.com/mud. Matt?
So, as we all know, the Delta variant is attempting to end any fall season plans that we may have for anybody who is currently not in Florida, which is why people are pissed off at people in Florida. And because of this, I can do whatever I want.
No, I know you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
And because of this, there's been some back and forth between the Biden administration and the governor, whose name is not Rick DeSantis, that I say often, but his name is Ron DeSantis. Rick was the last guy. And a reporter had this question for DeSantis having to do with recent comments by Biden's White House.
This was the DeSantis one or the Biden one?
Biden, DeSantis, COVID.
Here we go.
Governor, the White House now said that it will look to pay any of the superintendents or local school board members who defy your ban on that.
Hey there, this message is for Spike. How you doing? It's Amy G with your San Francisco Giants, and I guess your friend Matthew.
Oh my God, Amy Gutierrez.
Authority and someone.
Wait, who is this?
She's an announcer for the San Francisco Giants.
Oh, for God's sake. Oh.
Go Giants. And I guess your friend Matthew considers me a baseball authority and someone who could critique people who throw out ceremonial first pitches. And so he gave me some information about yours. And I gotta say, I'm a little disappointed. I mean, I'm happy, Spike, that you didn't bounce the pitch, because that's probably the worst thing you could do. But Matthew said it had a really high arc. And,
no, it didn't.
That's near unacceptable. So here's the thing. I'm not great at roasting people. I kind of believe everybody deserves a second chance. So I'd really like you to go back and work on it. Okay? Work on it. And let's try this again, especially at a minor league game. You should be nailing this. So if you ever want to make it to the bigs with us, you gotta locate, kid. You gotta locate. Can't bounce it, can't arc it, or you don't get to come back. So just, take these, words of advice from somebody who's watched about 8,000 ceremonial first pitches, that you're judged on it. It matters in life. It totally matters in life. Okay, Matthew, I hope that's what you wanted. And Spike,
Matthew.
Honestly, I'm just proud of you.
It was actually Matt Hicks.
It is not easy to throw out a first pitch. So I hear you, he's got a couple people that are ribbing you a little bit. So hopefully you have really thick skin. Apparently you're not very athletic either. So I'm sorry.
What is
get
this?
Those genes. Maybe you have other talents. Maybe you're artistic, or a good singer, musician. Maybe you're just a nice person, and that would be plenty to get through in life. But either go work on your pitch or just stay away from baseball. All right, Spike, go get him. Matthew, thank you for thinking of me to do this. Go Giants. Oh, I'll show you guys the field really fast too, because it's early. Here you go.
Great view of the park in San Francisco there.
I'm gonna throw out a pitch there, and I'm gonna break.
You could also use that
catcher's
pitching machine.
arm.
Did you see that? That probably has better aim. All right, Spike, go get him. Good luck. Take care, guys. Go Giants.
Hey, Spike. What's up, buddy? This is Doc Gooden, New York Mets. And thank you for being a Mets fan, and thank you for being a fan of mine. But are you serious, what I just heard? You threw out a first pitch, and now you want to go pro? Are you fucking kidding me?
Wow.
Pro what? Pro A&M?
Wow.
Pro what? You gonna be a pro bike rider? You can't be to my pitching. Is it that easy? I'll be still playing.
Wait.
Keep your day job, buddy. All right? Keep your day job. Anyway, Matthew and myself want to say keep your day job. It's not going to happen. Sorry.
I just got roasted by Doc Gooden.
By Doc Gooden.
Are you? Wow.
Yeah, you got roasted by Doc Gooden and Aaron Gutierrez.
Doc Gooden. I don't know
by
who
Doc.
I know Doc Gooden. I don't know Amy Gutierrez, but
Amy Gutierrez is she's the on-field reporter for the San Francisco Giants and has been for like 15 years or something like that. Yeah.
She was nice to me. Doc Gooden's like, what are you gonna be, a fucking pro biker? Like, Jesus. All right, thank you. Let me go.
If it was that easy, I think where he said if it was that easy, I'd still be doing it.
So
mad credit to Matt Hicks for putting that together. When he called me and he said, "Hey, this is what I'm thinking," I said, "Yeah, no, I'm 100% on board with this plan. I think that this is something that needs to be done, and I can't wait for this to happen."
No, that was funny. That was funny, Matt. Thank you, both Matts. Thank you, Matthew. That was fantastic, Matthew. Oh, man. Yeah, I am about to slap Matt Hicks with a hot dog. I actually saw Matt Hicks this weekend. We went out to to listen to Soul Asylum. Soul Asylum.
Runaway train never going back.
Yeah.
Wrong way on a one-way track.
Yeah. 3 hours of that.
Feels like I should be getting somewhere.
And his voice sounds like that now. Like, he sounds like, I forget the guy's name, but he sounds like someone impersonating someone singing.
Soul Asylum.
He sounds like he's impersonating himself, yeah. So, yeah, no, thank you all for that. So for those who weren't able to hear the question that the reporter asked, what DeSantis thought about Biden's statement saying that if school districts in Florida go against DeSantis's executive order on banning mask mandates for all school districts, the Biden administration will pay their salaries. Here's what DeSantis had to say about that.
So our view is, of course, that we believe this is a decision for the parent to make, just given the uncertainty about what it means, particularly for a lot of the young kids to be in that. And I think that's where the vast majority of the districts, I know we have, I think, two who are not providing the parents with the rights, but obviously we believe that the parent, rather than the government, should ultimately be able to make that decision. I'm not sure that they have the wherewithal. They're also talking about imposing a potential nationwide mask mandate on kindergartners, first graders, who knows, regardless of what the parents believe is in the best interest of their kids. And obviously, if you're talking about the federal government coming in and overruling parents in our communities, that would be something that we would fight back vociferously against. Yes, ma'am.
Governor, father in Pasco County tells us
if DeSantis was as good as he is with lockdowns, or has been with lockdowns post the initial lockdown and mask mandates and stuff like that, if he was that good on everything else, I'd be happy. But unfortunately he's not. But he is good on these, at least.
He is good on these. And so a lot of people, especially here in Florida as well, a lot of people have been giving him crap and saying that the federal government they're agreeing the federal government should not be the one saying whether or not the state can do this.
Right.
But they're also saying that Desantis and the state government should not be able to tell the local governments how to do this.
Right.
And I am generally in agreement with that. However, I do agree that it is the parents' decision on whether or not kids should have to wear masks, and the local government should not be telling the kids to.
Right.
That should be up to the parents. So it's like in this one, I'm like, I don't like that he's telling the entire state to do this, but I agree with the fact that he's saying the parents need to make these decisions.
Right. So in general, this kind of speaks to a greater libertarian discussion about what happens when a higher government tells a lower government to not infringe on someone's rights. And so this becomes that separation of powers versus the net outcome for someone's liberty, right? Yes, it is a slippery slope for governments to be telling lower governments what they can and can't do. At the same time, if it is taking a higher government to tell a lower government, no, you can't infringe on their rights to do this, that in and of itself is a net good for in terms of liberty and people's individual rights and freedoms. The question becomes, is that power going to be used for things where they're now trying to make them impose restrictions on people? You know, if there were magically a way for the federal government to force not just themselves, but all state and local governments to respect all of our rights and liberties at all times, I wouldn't even care about federalism, right? But the reality is, in general, if you don't allow those decisions to be made as locally as possible, more often than not, it leads to a net increase in restrictions on our lives and rights and property. So, yeah, pretty much where you are on it.
Right. And I absolutely do not think that Biden should be able to essentially bribe the local school districts, not even the local governments, just the local school districts, into saying, into complying with what Biden wants. Saying, if you want to do this, go ahead, we'll pay your salaries. I don't think that the federal government should be allowed to do that work. I don't even think they are allowed to do that work around.
There's no law allowing that. Where is this money coming from?
Right. Where is this money coming from? Where would this money come from? And where is it allowed that you can do it? Where's the precedent that you can do this?
Right, exactly. Now, speaking of where the hell are we going to get the money for that, included in the most recent infrastructure bill, gigantic corporate bailout bill, corporate welfare bill.
This one is so stupid. The only reason I put it is because of how dumb this one is.
So included in the infrastructure bill is a grant to help states set up privately operated toll roads and also forbid charging tolls to anyone making under what?
Yep. So anybody making under $400,000 a year would not be allowed to pay tolls on any toll road that this grant gives money to. Yeah, you heard that right.
Can they tell them they can't use it, or they have to let them use it but not?
I think they have to let them use it. Because inside the infrastructure bill, there is a passage that says any concessionaire doing business with a government that has accepted one of these grants would be forbidden from charging tolls or other user fees on anyone making $400,000 a year.
That's a poison pill. So this is what's called a poison pill, because no one's going to be able to find anyone. So basically what this is, it's saying we're going to give you money to allow you to be able to create grants to have private companies take over roads and charge a toll for the roads and bridges. But they can't charge anyone who makes less than $400,000, which ensures that no one is going to take the opportunity to take over roads if they can't charge anyone under $400,000, because first of all, 90 plus percent of Americans don't make $400,000, and also how the hell are they going to verify how much someone makes when they drive across their road? This has to have been a poison pill that was added to it to make sure it wasn't used. Otherwise, why would someone have made this?
So I think that they set money aside so that way they could tap into it later for something else.
Oh, so for example, hey, since no one wanted to take these private roads, we're going to pay teacher salaries or school board salaries who implement mask mandates.
Right. Current bid on the tumbler is 169. 169 ducats. Nice. But yeah, that's my personal theory is they knew that no infrastructure company would even think about picking this up because like Spike said, 92% or something like that of people in America don't make $400,000 a year. So you'd only be able to charge 8% of America to drive on the road.
And then again, how do you quantify
who makes it?
Whether someone is making like
you got to turn in your tax return every time you
have
go
to
through.
Bring them your 1040 every. Yeah, you got to bring them your 1040 every time. Bootleg Libertarian says, "Good thing I make $399,999." It's like, how would they know Jennifer Gates' salary passport? Oh gosh, that's gonna be a thing.
That could be a thing. But right now there's no way for them to do this. There's no way for them to quantify how much somebody makes. And I honestly believe that this was put in so they would have this extra money that they'd be able to tap into for other things that we would find more reprehensible than this.
Yeah, well, that and also being able to have that talking point in the future. You know, we tried to set up for private road. They didn't want to do it. Well, yeah, because you made it impossible. That is weird. Alex Flores says, "Remember, Bernie Sanders helped write this bill." That's
and one of the reasons is because Biden promised that he wouldn't raise taxes or fees on anybody making less than 400,000. Now, yes, he does. Yes, he will. He absolutely will. Yeah. Because even if he doesn't raise your taxes directly, he will be. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sheila Foster, 269, because it doesn't really work with one, huh? Huh? I mean,
all right, Sheila. Depends on how flexible you are.
I was going to say, I've
that's just a zero, though. I feel like.
Well, it's got the feet.
Well, okay, so it's like a 9 or it's going to be that's going to be a 6 with the way that
it's a 6.
Well, you're doing that standing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So no, you're doing that 6. Yeah, you're doing that sitting or lying down. So it's going to be much more like a 6. My parents now watch this show. This is going to be awkward.
So, hey, thanks for the bid so we don't have to talk about this anymore. So thank you.
So, yeah. But, because Biden said that he wouldn't raise taxes on 400,000 people making 400,000 or less than 400,000, he's going to raise taxes on people making 400,000 or more, which means that the prices for everything that the people making under 400,000 is going to go up in order to help supplement the tax increase. And that's for corporations and that's for individuals. That's for everything.
Yep.
So prices are going to go up. So by raising the taxes on the wealthy or the corporations, he is raising prices on the people who make less than $400,000 a year. So it is what kind of tax do you call that when they do that?
It's regressive. All
regressive
taxes are regressive. Yeah, all taxes at their core are regressive because even if you're targeting the rich, they just pass it along to the stuff that everyone's buying, which means that the higher a proportion of your income is being spent on buying stuff, consuming stuff, instead of investing and things like that, the higher your de facto tax rate is, even if you're not paying it directly, you're paying the overhead that it was added to. So you're going to get screwed either way. All taxation is a system of those with the least being robbed, usually to give to those with the most, and you get a few crumbs back to make you feel like you got something. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of...
So in other bad news...
In other terrible news, Remington the gunmaker has offered to pay a settlement of $33 million to the families of Sandy Hook. Matt?
The 9 families that are suing Remington Arms are discussing the proposal with their lawyer, said the lead attorney representing the families, Joshua Koskoff. Koskoff called the offer grossly inadequate, but declined further comment. Each of the 9 families would receive roughly $3.7 million. So my question.
Yep.
Can we sue Ford for car accidents?
Well,
no.
And even if not car accidents, for someone getting in the car and intentionally hurting someone. So like suing Ford for road rage incidents, or like you said, Budweiser for drunk drivers, or
drunk driving,
LeBlue for if I bash someone's head in with this bottle, because I mean LeBlue is still choosing to use these really thick, like the old school 90s water bottle design. That's accessory to a crime. The whole thing is absurd. Like so I've been asked before, do you think the government should ban lawsuits against gun companies? No, because then you end up going down the path where even if the gun company does something negligent with the gun or something like that, now they're protected, just like the pharmaceutical industry is protected for liability from their products. Same thing. So that's not good to do that. What needs to happen is the people who file claims against companies who engaged in neither negligence nor malfeasant behavior should be punished deeply for it. And the attorneys should lose their bar cards and not be able to practice anymore. Like, there needs to be some serious punishment of these kinds of absurd lawsuits, which are really an attempt to use the legal system to create a legislative goal. So, they figure if they can bankrupt all the gun makers, then, there won't be any guns, or at least any legally produced guns. And so that'll be the their way of doing gun control. It's just, the whole thing is absurd. It's also another reason why we should all be 3D printing our own guns, but that's a whole other subject. Yeah, no, this is nonsense. This is utter nonsense.
It's absolute nonsense, and it won't destroy Remington, but it's going to hurt them, and it's going to hurt them bad, because now that they've paid, other people will see that they can try the same thing, and they'll try it with other gun companies, and this has the potential to be very bad for American-made guns, which means only guns made outside of the U.S. are going to be available for purchase. And if they go through with any of their bans on foreign-made weapons, this is the catalyst. This is the beginning of them getting rid of guns, which we're going to get into that a little bit later.
Yeah, no, this is we'll talk about what happens when you get rid of guns, when you disarm people. It's just absurd. And bootleg libertarian says Remington's already broke. They're trying to sell off their business. So this is that last hit to them. And meanwhile, no love lost between me and the gun manufacturers. I mean, they've been some of the main people pushing for restrictions on restrictions and regulations on gun ownership in order to limit the market of those who are able to actually produce guns and sell them. So, I guess what's good for the goose is good for the gander. But all of these things result in us having fewer options, us having less freedom, and also creating this narrative that the gun is the problem and not the murderer who used the gun. Why, it's weird. One weird thing when a police officer, kills someone in an unjustified way, shoots someone and kills them, we never ever hear anyone say, oh, the gun, we need gun control for police officers. We heard people either try to justify it or people saying it's wrong and there needs to be reforms on police. But why aren't we talking about disarming the police or restricting their limits of the kind of guns that they can have? That never comes up. Why is that? Because it's not about
so in all fairness,
it's not about safety.
In all fairness, it came up a little bit last year. It came up a little bit last year with the defund the police movement and the militarization of police, and like that was a massive talking point for us last summer.
Militarization, yeah, but not like take their sidearm, like take their pistol.
Well, unless you count defund the police and not having them anymore counting as take their pistol. But that's like fair. we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I don't remember what story we were talking about that led into this, but in both New Jersey and New York, they were doing gun control laws, and they ended up changing the laws to let either off-duty police or retired police continue to carry guns, while the peons, the people who weren't part of the police force, couldn't carry one. And these are the things where it's like, okay, what if these people shot somebody? Just shot somebody. Would you be talking about getting rid of guns for the police then? No, you wouldn't, because you need that for your protection or whatever. And the fact of the matter is, you need guns for your protection. You don't really need the police. If everybody had guns, there would be a lot less crime.
There'd be a lot less crime, and there'd be a lot less dependence. So gun control is the belief that your life needs to be protected with a gun, but not from you, but from some uninterested third party who you have to call and hope that they get there in time to protect you. And interestingly enough, the people who often believe in this are also the ones who are the most likely to say that cops are racist and abusive and should be curtailed and possibly defunded. And it's like, well, which is this? Like, at some point, we have to acknowledge that I mean, we tend to agree that, the police are out of hand and need to be brought under heel, and that there needs to be serious reforms in the way that they do business, and that the practices need to change, and they need to be held accountable for their bad actions, and end qualified immunity, and end civil asset forfeiture, and the militarization and so forth. But also let people own guns so they can protect themselves. We don't believe in this utopian nonsense that, absent the police, there's not going to be crime anymore, right? Like, absent so many disarmed people, there won't be as much crime anymore.
Right. Exactly.
So, speaking of... It's time for the Chris Reynolds personal injury attorney, Chris Reynolds, attorney at law, Anchor call-in moment, where you can go to anchor.fm/muddiedwaters and leave us messages throughout the week, and we will play them and answer any questions you have right here, right now, every Tuesday, for the Muddy Waters of Freedom during the personal injury attorney, Chris Reynolds, attorney at law, Anchor call-in moment. You can also, when you go to anchor.fm/muddywaters, you can also press the donate money button and donate money to us. Because and you don't have to donate money for us to listen to your question, but we will love you more.
We will love you more. That is true. Travis Pace bid $275 on the Tumbler. Current bid on the Tumbler, $275.
I'm going to put that in. Current high bid.
Okay, I'll stop typing.
Yeah, no, $275. Okay, also, by the way, real quick, this is brought to you by Spike Cohen, who's coming to Ohio this weekend, to Columbus, Ohio, for the Libertarian Party of Ohio's 2021 conference. I'm also going to be doing I think a rally with Accountability Now Ohio to end qualified immunity in Ohio, and I'll also be doing an escape room. My wife and I will be doing escape rooms, and I will be posting that information on my social media. And then on Tuesday, join me on August 24th at the in Montgomery. We're doing the Rally for Justice, where we are pushing for the restrictions that are being placed on the Libertarian Party of Alabama to be removed so that they are able to compete and be on the ballot just like the Republicans and Democrats are. And so I'll be there in Ohio and then in Alabama. So here is the first. Here we go. First one is from Midwest Guy.
He's watching on Twitch.
Matt, this is Midwest Guy. It's my first time calling in to your show. I'm, super excited. I really love that you guys, you do this whole calling thing. Okay, it's really it's awesome. Okay, and so yeah, thank you. I'm a big fan. Okay, I've been listening to the show for about a year, I think, or maybe even more. I'm not sure, but for a little while now, and yeah, so. You guys do a great job, and this is my favorite show. Actually, I got my wife to move our date night from Tuesday nights over to Thursday nights, so that way I can listen to the show live from now on. And so I'm super pumped to be doing that soon. Hopefully, maybe even this question I'm about to ask you will be on that very first show. Wouldn't that be awesome? Uh-oh, it's counting down on me. Oh no, sorry, I took too long.
This feels, is this a real accent? This feels like, oh no. I can't.
So he is actually watching on Twitch right now.
Okay.
I had that question when I listened to some of these earlier today, but he has a good question, so I stopped caring.
No, listen, if you want to call and however you talk, I'm fine with that.
Okay, I'm back. It's Midwest Guy here, and I got a question for the two of you, okay? My question here is, okay, so me and my buddies, we were out throwing back some brewskis, right? And we were talking about our business model, and my buddy, he was saying that he wants to structure our business like a democratic, like a worker co-op, like a democratic workplace. And I'm pretty new to the whole like libertarian thing and the anarchist thing. I never even heard of these before. My buddy was telling me about them, but it sounds like a pretty cool kind of deal. And so I was just wondering what you guys think about it. What are worker co-ops? What's your kind of the general feel around them? And are they good? Are they bad? I don't know. I've never even heard of these things. So yeah, just hoping to hear from you guys. And to the audience, hello. Thank you for tolerating my 2-minute long question here. And oh shoot, it's counting down again. Okay, I gotta go. Thank you so much.
I don't know if that's a real accent.
I don't know if it's real.
Do you want to give your thoughts on democratically run
co-ops? So co-ops, I know a couple of co-ops, and I've seen a couple of different ways that co-ops are run. Either everybody who goes there has to buy a membership, and you are now part owner of that store, but you get massive discounts because of it. Sort of Costco-y, but not Costco-y. Like you're not going to get the big bulk items. Or that everybody that works there is technically an owner, and they all make decisions democratically together and vote on everything. I have seen some of these things work so smoothly. There was a bar, I don't know if it's still open, in Philadelphia that I don't remember the name of. That was a co-op, and everybody that worked there was part owner. They opened every day at 4:00. Everybody came in on their scheduled times, and it ran great. And it was a fun, dimly lit, dark bar, and it was great. I loved it. I have seen them not run great because everybody thought they were an owner and just didn't show up. So really, I am not going to say that running a co-op is a terrible idea.
Right.
It really depends on who you have working with you on whether or not it is a good idea. If you don't think that you would be able to hire people that would be responsible and wouldn't look at it as this is a way for me to make money and I can go out and do other things, as opposed to this is where I work and I need to build this so everybody makes more money. If you think you can find those people, you go ahead and do it. However, I personally would. Muddied Waters Media is not a co-op. I'll say that.
I mean, technically we started as a co-op because there were only two of us, but the
That's
so
fair.
it was a co-op in that we co-owned it. But yeah, so pretty much what Matt said. In order for a democratically run co-op of worker owners to be able to work, I think that they have to have shared values, shared goals, shared expectations, and there has to be some kind of accountability structure. I have been involved in a lot of different startups, both consulting and actually being a part of them. And the ones that worked best were ones where there was a clear hierarchy, a leader or leaders, and the people that were in, some level of management if needed. I mean, some of the smaller ones didn't even need that, and whoever worked for them. The ones that didn't work as well were the ones where they tried creating these boards so that everyone had an equal say, and they didn't already make sure before setting this structure up that they had the same goals, the same values, the same whatever. They just, we're going to get rich, we're going to make a lot of money doing this, we're going to have a great time doing this. And then when it was time to make decisions on a day-to-day basis, it got caught down in quagmires and negotiations and a bunch of crap that on things that were sometimes incredibly trivial, but because everyone had to decide on these things, it became an issue. I think there also needs to be a certain amount of autonomy granted to the people in the different parts of that organization. So, for example, if you're in the marketing department, you shouldn't have to bring every single thing to the board or the co-op or whatever it's called to make that decision. You should have a certain level of autonomy to be able to make a decision in that because they hired you or you have been brought in as a part owner to do that. But yeah, I mean, if people want to do it, I think that they should be able to, and I think it should work well. And I think the restrictions that are in the tax code that make it prohibitively expensive to run co-ops in a lot of businesses, those need to be gotten rid of. You should be able to structure your company however you want to. So,
yeah, no, absolutely. I also don't know what kind of business you're planning on starting here, so that also could make a difference on.
Yeah. Service industry seems to work fairly well. Again, if everyone's on the same page with how they're going to do it.
That depends. That also depends on the size of the restaurant.
Oh, and that's another thing. If this thing is huge, it's probably not going to work well.
It's not going to work.
Even these large companies that are mandated by law to have these boards and stuff like that, it's still being decided by an executive and an executive team. It's if you want, one of the reasons why government moves at a snail's pace is because every decision is democratized, and that actually leads to the totalitarian impulse to just take over and do stuff, which makes things worse. Make sure it's small and not able to get out of its own way. Make sure everyone's on the same page with their values, their goals, their objectives. Make sure that there's a level of accountability built in, and also make sure that there's some autonomy granted to the people in the different sectors or sections or departments of this company. And now we have a few from Matthew Hicks.
Well, hello there, guy on left and Spike. This is Matt Hicks calling on the personal injury attorney, Chris Reynolds, attorney at law, anchor calling moment, TM. I just have one question for you, Spike'le. And this question you've already heard today, but I'm going to ask again anyway. Are you fucking kidding me? Bro, what? Ah! Hashtag laser legend.
Oh. Doc Gooden roasted me. I love that these people have no idea who I am, and we're just straight up because they were paid on Cameo to do it. They're like, hey, fuck you and your ball throwing. Spike? What's this? Spike? Yeah, Spike. Fuck you, Spike. Have a great day. Thanks, Matthew. All right. Here's the next one from Matthew Hicks.
Hey, guy on left and Spike. This is Matt Hicks calling in on the personal injury attorney, Chris Reynolds, attorney at law, anchor calling moment, TM. So, I guess the big thing in the news is Afghanistan, right? Like, the country fell within a matter of months of the U.S. leaving, and everybody's acting all surprised. And I'm a little surprised too. I'm frankly a little surprised that it took this long. I mean, it was my experience in Afghanistan that if you got to chase some Taliban dudes up the side of a mountain, he's wearing flip-flops and dust in your ass while you're running behind him trying to catch him.
Right.
So I'm really kind of surprised that it took this long. I can't really speak for you guys, but that's where I weigh in on this. Anyway, I just wanted to get that out there. Yeah, hashtag you gotta locate, kid.
Whatever. I threw the ball well. It's still here. Look. I threw the ball well. It got to the pitcher. Boom. Look at that. It didn't have this ridiculous arc. Look, let me go back to this thing. Here, look.
It didn't have an arc?
Look. I didn't say it
Look at
didn't
where
have
that
an
ball
arc.
is.
I didn't say it didn't have an arc, but people are making it sound like I threw it like underhand or something. Like I threw it and it got to the catcher. And then he didn't even catch it.
That's because he didn't think it was going to make it.
But that, you know what? Then he shouldn't be playing semi-pro baseball. That's what I'd like to say about that. Look, boom. Didn't. I said from the beginning, I'm not throwing a heater down the middle. I am a nearly 40-year-old guy.
Yeah, but then
MS.
as soon as you did it,
yes,
you made a post.
Yes,
and you called it a heater down the middle.
I mean, it's my heater down the middle. Graded on
which
a curve.
wasn't the middle or a heater.
This is graded on a curve. This is essentially a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. Boom, right there.
Graded on a curve.
Yes, graded on a curve. Okay, let's see Nolan Ryan. Well, I guess he was 40. Let's see Nolan Ryan get MS.
42 when he was throwing.
Let's give Nolan Ryan
no hitters.
MS relapses and then have him throw a couple balls out there. That, by the way, this has nothing to do with me having MS. I'm just not athletic. But let's see Nolan Ryan suck at baseball and throw this gem right here. This is the crowning achievement of my athletic career right here. By boom, I'm happy. I'm happy with it. Whatever. I don't care. All right, here we go. Afghanistan, we're going to be talking more about that.
We're going to be talking about it later. So
the entire segment. But for those listening to what Matt just had to say, Matt Hicks, he served in Afghanistan and Iraq in combat. He knows what he's talking about. And he told me that. He said the first time I saw someone, carrying heavy small arms and, running up a hill in sandals and beating us, I knew we were screwed. And it is what it is. Like, home field advantage, determination to win, not being scared to die, wanting to kick out the foreign occupier. Vietnam, Afghanistan, to some extent Korea, this is how it goes. Like, this is how it goes. So here's the last one from Matthew Laser Legend Hicks.
Holy shit, guys. I just figured it out. Oh, sorry. This is Matt Hicks calling in on the personal injury attorney, Chris Reynolds, attorney at law, anchor calling moment, TM. Holy shit, guys. I just figured it out. This whole Afghanistan thing, Biden orchestrated all of it to draw attention away from Cuomo. That's what's going on here. It's a big prestige, man. Look the other way while some shit happens. These crafty politicians, man. Anyway, hashtag Laser Legend.
Sure.
That's a little Alex Jonesy.
I was going to say that's sure.
I mean, I am not going to say you're wrong because what's that meme going around right now? Conspiracy theories are now called spoilers.
Yeah.
Sure. Why not? Why not?
Adam Wegg says, I'm now 100% convinced this is fact. This is the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't know that he's wrong. I mean, put it this way. It would not be the dumbest thing government has done Adam also earlier said my diesel Jetta is a Lamborghini when graded on a curve. Good for you. That's good. I'm happy for you because again, I'm happy with this. I'm happy with what I did, and I don't, people are blah blah blah. Look, boom. By the way, it was me, and then they had some kids come up and throw some pitches before the game, like some kids.
Are you gonna say you did better than kids?
From an orphanage, and they all bounced it. All the orphans bounced their balls. There was only one person that got up there and threw it, and it got to even the pitcher bounced a couple of them. They weren't a good team. I pitched a shutout, whatever. Anyway, so here's the last one from James M. Ray.
Hi, Spike and guy on left. This is James M. Ray calling in on the personal injury attorney Chris Reynolds, attorney at law, anchor call-in moment line. I think I got that right. Anyway, I'm calling to ask for help with messaging, because even though I'm a huge fan of energy from thorium and molten salt reactors, I now have to advocate the light water reactors I've called obsolete because Turkey Point has permission to build 2 more of them, and, well, FPL does, and we need this to happen for the good of the South Florida community. So I would like some help at the Mike Termite event, and before that, getting people to understand that even obsolete reactors, well, outdated reactors, are a good thing, and we need them. So thanks for your help, and have a great day.
Sure. So the message on this is easy, James. Nuclear power, nuclear energy is so much better than the alternatives. It is so much cleaner, so much safer, so much cheaper, so much more carbon neutral, so much more plentiful and stable that even the old, out-of-date, obsolete forms of nuclear energy production like light water reactors are still head and shoulders above anything else that is currently available out there. So if that's so incredible, imagine how great a thorium molten reactor would be compared to a light water reactor. There's your thing there. It's like saying, hey, yeah, you know what? The automobile is so incredibly advanced that even what was it, the 1960 whatever Pinto that kept exploding, that even that is still exponentially safer and more efficient and easier to use than a horse and carriage from the 1800s or something like that. So it's the same thing here. It's so head and shoulders above everything else that even the older crappy versions are still better than what's available, right. Which is why we need to have deregulation in that sector and allow more innovation so that we can get the newer forms of nuclear energy, which are even safer and cleaner and more plentiful and more stable and more carbon neutral and everything else. So yes.
Sheila Foster just bid $300 for the tumbler. 300 is the current high bid for the Libertarian Party Waffle House Caucus Tumbler, autographed by yours truly and his truly.
And for those just tuning in, this is the tumbler here. We don't have it right now because they're applying yet another epoxy coating. This thing, when fully epoxy coated, you'll be able to wash it 10,000 times and still everything stays on it because it's being heavily epoxy coated. This is a beautiful tumbler that is signed by both me and Matt. It is an official Waffle House Caucus merchandise made by Defy the Power, making you an official senior voting member of the
Libertarian Party Waffle House Caucus.
Libertarian Party Waffle House Caucus. And so I was just trying to find the thing.
Gotcha.
And so yes, top bid is $300 as of right now. We will be tallying up at the end, and whoever has the top bid will be the winner of this tumbler once they give us the money. So yes.
Yes.
Let's see.
And also half of these proceeds go to Defy the Power, who make these tumblers. Fantastic people over there.
Yes.
They do really good work. So I recommend you check them out on Facebook.
Yep. Defy the Power. And this tumbler, not this tumbler, sorry. This tumbler is this tumbler is I just saw the T. This tumbler, 20 ounces, and will keep a cold drink cold for 12 hours and a hot drink hot for 10 hours. High quality stuff here. And beautiful craftsmanship. Beautiful, beautiful craftsmanship. All right, cool. So we're going to talk about the thing that we have to talk about because
we have to.
That's happening. Yeah, we have to, and it is insane, and it underscores everything we've been saying about U.S. foreign policy since before Muddied Waters Media even started in 2016, which is that imperialism is bad, it's harmful, it accomplishes no goals that we were told it was supposed to accomplish, and ultimately it just leads to lives lost on all sides, and the only people who benefit are central bankers and the crony corporations that make up the military-industrial complex. Now, let's have a quick flashback to roughly 3 weeks ago when Joe Biden said this.
Is the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan now inevitable?
No, it is not. Because you have the Afghan troops have 300,000.
I just want to go back. That was
Taliban takeover of Afghanistan now inevitable?
No.
No. Nope. Why?
Nope. It is not. Because you have the Afghan troops have 300,000.
Wow.
Well equipped as any army in the world, and an air force, against something like 75,000 Taliban. It is not inevitable.
So what he didn't tell you there is that, first of all, it wasn't 300,000, it was more like 200,000. The other thing he didn't tell you was that they were already quitting. They were already abandoning their posts. Many of them, it turns out, we're going to find out soon enough, I'm sure. Many of them were already Taliban. They were just collecting a U.S. taxpayer-funded check every week or every 2 weeks or whenever they got paid. And we're just waiting to officially hand the keys over to the Taliban when it was time to do that. One thing to note, there was no real fighting. This wasn't some epic week-long battle. There were some skirmishes, but for the most part, the Taliban literally just walked into town, or just appeared in town because they were already there, and said, "We're in charge here."
Right.
So that's what happened.
So I'm totally going to plagiarize this guy that ran for office, but the corporate media's reporting on Afghanistan and COVID are at their core identical. Something terrible is happening, and it's all because you wouldn't listen to us and give us more money and power.
Why? Who said that? That's brilliant. I want to vote for that person of whatever gender.
I have no idea who wrote that. Spike wrote that for anybody who didn't pick up on that joke. $80 billion, people. $80 billion. That is how much the U.S. has spent on training the Afghanistan army since the inception of this war.
Factored in for inflation, you're looking at about $100 billion. 100 billion. Let's even say 80 billion. $80 billion. And they lasted 8 days. In fact, they didn't even last 8 days. It just took that long for the Taliban to travel to all the different parts of the country. So it really took a matter of hours. They were literally already crumbling before, like, the troops. We haven't left Afghanistan yet. There's still, 5,000, 6,000 troops there, and active duty personnel and non-essential personnel and contractors and so forth. The withdrawal's not even complete yet, and the Taliban has literally already taken over the country and is just patiently waiting for the U.S. to leave.
Yep. Now, to put 80 billion into to give it some sort of concept for you, the current GDP of Afghanistan, according to Google, literally right now for 2019, is 19.29 billion. Wow. Most of that's heroin.
I
But
was gonna say that's almost all heroin and child trafficking.
19.29 billion is their current GDP. We spent 80 billion in the last 20 years on training their military. And that's nothing compared to the number of lives lost from this never-ending war, or the over $2 trillion that we spent on the war itself.
Wow. Let's just do a quick number here. The Afghanistan's entire economy is worth roughly 1% of the pre-adjusted for inflation amount that the U.S. government, the U.S. taxpayer, has spent in Afghanistan, over $2 trillion. It's actually less than 1%. And it gets worse than that, because if you factor in the cost, because this wasn't paid for in tax money that already existed. Most of it was run up in debt and will be paid off in thank you, with interest. Once that's factored in, the payments will be pretty much through 2050. That's 2050. Almost 30 years from now. And the total cost at that point will have been $6.5 trillion. Afghanistan's entire economy right now is worth roughly not even a third
of a percent.
A third of a percent of what the U.S. taxpayer is on the hook for that country. And the money is not anything compared to the 2,300 American service members who died there over 2 generations, almost 4,000, 3,800 contractors that died there, the roughly 300,000 Afghans, the majority of whom were civilians, that died there, all for what?
Right. Now, I think you skipped over the one joke I put in there. That's all of that.
Yes.
All of that on a war that is now so old that Kevin Spacey wouldn't try to assault it. Now,
that's the one joke you get in all of this. Yeah.
Right, in all of this, it's the one. It's the only one that I thought mattered. Now, 2,300 American service members were killed in this war, and 3,800 contractors. And we are not going to crap on the military. We're not going to talk about. No. I have many friends who were in Afghanistan. Many friends that spent time over there, and not all of them came back the person that they were when they left to go there. Matt Hicks, I didn't know him before he went there, but he is a person who was there. He just said that. I feel comfortable saying that because he just said that in his call-in. I've got many other friends that have been there, and I have seen their PTSD that they suffer. 22 or 23 vets kill themselves every single day.
Every day, yep.
And many of them served in this war.
Yep.
In this war that we spent 2 trillion, 6 trillion by the time we finished paying it off, 80 billion of it used to train the Afghan military. And in like a day,
yep,
the Taliban came in and took over. And I know that many of them are sitting there at home. I know one in particular. I'm certain many others are, but I know one in particular that is sitting at home wondering what the hell was all of this for? Why did I watch my friends die? Why did my friends die? Why do I hate 4th of July now? all of that because of what they experienced over there, what we spent so much money of taxpayer money on.
So much money
For what?
People's lives.
For what?
For what? Yeah. None of this makes sense if looked through the prism of this was done to stop terrorism or to protect the American people. So we know that Mullah Omar, who was in charge of Afghanistan, he was the head of the Taliban when 9/11 happened. He described bin Laden as a chicken bone stuck in his throat. He could neither swallow it nor spit it out. And he wanted to get rid of bin Laden as much as humanly possible. And at that point, bin Laden had a couple dozen fighters with him with Al-Qaeda and in Afghanistan, and you know, a few dozen more scattered across the planet. Al-Qaeda had not had the recruitment opportunity of ramping up by having the military attack multiple sovereign countries. And when the U.S. government demanded, right after 9/11, demanded that the Taliban hand over bin Laden, Mullah Omar's opening response was to say, if you present us with evidence that he was behind 9/11 or involved in 9/11, then we would be happy to hand him off to a third-party Muslim country to be tried and punished. That was the opening offer, and that was a face-saving offer. That was, I'm not going to completely capitulate to you, you know, to save face among the Muslim community who will say that I'm giving in to the imperialist devils or whatever, but that's my opening offer. If our counteroffer had been, we'll present you all the evidence in the world, but we want him, and he will go through a trial that is in keeping with international standards and blah, 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 but we want him, more than likely, the Taliban would have been more than likely, and it would have easily been able to find bin Laden, round him up, either kill him or hand him over to the U.S. government for trial. This was never about that. In fact, in December of 2001, when it was known in the Tora Bora offensive that bin Laden had escaped to Pakistan, we never once threatened Pakistan the same way and said, you know, you need to hand bin Laden over or we'll invade you. In fact, George Bush, in an interview in the end of 2001, beginning of 2002, said this is much bigger than bin Laden. Bin Laden might be dead or he might be hiding, cowering somewhere in Afghanistan or Pakistan, but this isn't about bin Laden. This is about the global Islamic terrorism. Well, no, it was supposed to be about bin Laden. It certainly hasn't made us more safe. There's more terrorism than ever before. There are more terror recruitment opportunities than ever before. The CIA is arming more terrorists than ever before. It has nothing to do with that. In fact, this was a massive CIA handoff, State Department handoff, and Pentagon handoff of weapons to the Taliban, who will no doubt be giving at least some of this to terror groups that hate us. So it certainly wasn't done for that. None of this makes sense until you look through it through the prism of how could we possibly maximize the profits for Federal Reserve central bankers and crony corporations tied to the military-industrial complex. How could we possibly generate as much revenue for those companies as possible? This is how you do that. Through these long, constant, slogging, doomed to fail efforts that never end and only end in embarrassing defeat the way that this one has. Then it makes sense. This had nothing to do with protecting us.
So as we've all seen, I'm certain all of us have seen this by now. We have a very intelligent and well-informed audience. The Taliban took over Afghanistan this weekend, and there's a lot of critics out there, neocons, who are saying that we withdrew too early, and the logically consistent people, they see a country where the years, money, and lives wasted training an army that either had no inclination to protect its country or lacked the ability to do so.
Yep.
It depends on which way you see it. It's either they didn't care to do it or they were unable to do it.
Either way,
it appears as though they just were like, no, I'm out. Like, I'm not doing this. I think, and you may disagree with me, but I think that what is happening now would have happened whenever we polled everybody, or pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it does not matter who would have been president at that time
at all.
If as soon as we did it, this was going to happen.
Yeah.
And so the finger blaming that you're seeing, like the Republicans are doing it real bad right now, and they're saying,
yeah,
oh yeah, Biden did this too early. Biden shouldn't have done it. But Trump was the one who did this plan. He made this deal. Biden just kind of followed up. Like, he extended it, but he still followed up on the deal that Trump made. So blaming the other party makes absolutely no sense here. Both parties got the Afghans in this mess.
Trump released the main, arguably the leader of the Taliban, but at the very least, the main spokesman of the Taliban, who immediately became the main negotiator and arguably the leader, at least one of the leaders of the Taliban. And you know what? That wasn't the wrong choice to make. The only wrong choices here were that the date that was agreed to wasn't stuck to. Because I think the reason we're seeing what we're seeing now is the Taliban wasn't going to wait till the 9/11 pullout date, final pullout date, to see what happens. They're like, yeah, you know what? We're just going to go ahead and take over now. Like, we're just going to go ahead and take over. And if that creates instability, great. That just makes sure that they won't stick around. I think if May came and went, and there was no fighting for quite some time because they were waiting to see, are you guys going to leave like you said you would? You're now saying September, but are you going to leave like you said you would? I think if the U.S. government had committed to the May date and fast-tracked visa applications for any allies in Afghanistan, the interpreters and the helpers and their families, so that they can escape, because almost all of them are going to die now, for helping the U.S. Go ahead.
So I heard a fantastic plan earlier today that would have absolutely worked. Worked. So right now, you would need 17 flights a day, carrying like 2,000 people,
right,
to get everybody out of there that's seeking asylum.
Mm-hmm.
For like 10 days or something like that. I can't remember the exact numbers. Canada's offered 20,000. Visas to 20,000. But Guam, the leader of Guam, I don't know if they have a president or not. He said, if you guys can get them all here, they can stay here and you can work on their visas, and they can stay here. No issues. They can just come and stay here, and you have time to process all of their visas. But now you're stuck in a situation where you have so many people who are stuck over there and they can't really leave because they're having trouble getting everybody out. I'm certain everybody saw the footage of I think we're going to talk about this later, but I'm going to say it now too. The footage yesterday of the C-17 taking off, and people were hanging on to the outside of the C-17, and then you see them falling off as the plane is taking off. And it was heartbreaking and it was devastating. And you have this happening when you knew that you were going to be leaving. You should have been processing all of these. And you can sit there as a neocon or as a war hawk, warmonger, neo-progressive, whatever side you're on that thinks we should be staying there, and say, well, over the last 5 years, the United States has only lost less than 25 people per year over there. So it kind of makes sense to save the lives of all of the Afghanistan people and to stop the spread of terror throughout the world. Except that, yes, the U.S. lost 18 people in 2019, 22 the year before that, 10 the year before that. Yeah, it seems like, it's stable. But last year, the Afghanistan people lost more lives than they had in 20 years. 20 years. It's not, they weren't attacking the US because of negotiations. They were going and they were going after the Afghanistan people, the Afghans that were helping. And it was not a stable condition. This was, as Biden said, this was inevitable.
It was inevitable to happen. And the Guam idea is great, or fast track them and let them come in. I mean, we're talking 80,000 people, which on the scale of things in a country of 330 million, it's a drop of a drop of a drop. It would not change anything in any way, in any real even measurable way. and it would be immeasurably helpful to them who would be able to survive this. It's just it is. So I think doing those two things, fast tracking the applications and sticking to the May date, it wouldn't be as ridiculous as it is right now. But this was going to happen. The Taliban was going to take over. It was obvious the Taliban was just waiting for the U.S. to leave, and at this point was like, actually, we're not waiting for you to leave. We're going to just take over now, so you can stick around as long as you want. And you'll notice they're not attacking the U.S. So all the people saying we got to stick around, they're murderers, they want to kill us. They're not attacking us right now. They're not attacking the U.S. military right now, because that would be stupid. They're just waiting for the U.S. military to leave. The people saying we need to stay in because we've invested so much money and so much time and so many lives, I understand that thinking. That's called the sunk cost fallacy. So this is a term that's used in investing. The sunk cost fallacy is... First of all, sunk cost is the money that you have already put into something that you cannot get back. It is already in there. You cannot liquidate any of it. It's gone. You're not getting it back. The sunk cost fallacy is when someone looks at how much cost they've sunk, how much money and time and resources and investment they have put into this investment, and concluded that they cannot afford to let all that go, so they got to invest more and stay through to the long haul. In other words, they're looking at the sunk cost that they'll never get back, and they're not looking at the prospective cost, the money that they will continue to pay out if they don't cut their ties and get out of this investment. It explains why most people don't invest well, because they get emotionally invested. They say, oh, I've put all this money into this, I'm sticking around for the long haul, and they end up losing everything. It also explains anyone that thinks that we should stay in Afghanistan. It is clear that this was a failed effort from the beginning. It wasn't even the real effort that was done. Again, the leadership that brought us there didn't want to win, didn't want to get bin Laden, didn't want to stop terrorism. They wanted to make money for cronies and bankers. That's why we're there. And mission accomplished. They're super rich and at everyone else's expense. Also, this whole thing about only 2,300 American service members have been killed by this war, over there. You don't get 22 veterans killing themselves a day in peacetime. You get that from the exponentially larger number of Americans who came home from Afghanistan and Iraq and other places, who didn't come home in the flag-draped casket, but they did come home with PTSD, traumatic brain injuries, chronic health issues, chronic pain issues, mental health issues related to the atrocities that they've seen over there, and then being subjected to the worst form of healthcare in this country. We talk about how the Afghan people that were our allies have been abandoned. That's true. We've also abandoned our veterans. So if we're going to talk about the investment that we have and how we have to see it through to the long run, good. Go help the veterans. If you want to talk about a lifetime investment that needs to be seen through to the end, talk about the people who signed up and swore an oath to protect and defend the Constitution and the American people against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and who were sent overseas by our domestic enemies to fight and kill and die on behalf of drug cartels and child traffickers and central bankers and dictators and foreign terrorist groups and the military-industrial complex. Taking care of them. There's your investment. Go take care of that.
So Biden and Trump themselves have been throwing shots at each other, blaming each other. Biden, according to Trump, Biden ran out of Afghanistan instead of following the plan our administration left for him. This is complete failure through weakness, incompetence, and total strategic incoherence.
Your plan was to leave earlier.
Yeah. I don't know what other parts of the plan there were, but... Biden said it was Trump leaving the Taliban in the strongest position militarily since 2001 that was responsible for the current events.
That's more accurate.
Like,
if you have to blame either one of those, that's actually more accurate. I mean, ultimately, they've been in an incredibly and increasingly strong position for quite some time. But yeah, Trump let all their leadership go. And, oh, gosh.
Yeah, released 5,000 of their prisoners for 1,000 Afghan military. It's not the military, the peace guards or whatever. I don't remember what they call them. Yeah. For in exchange for 1,000 Afghan military members, and one of them is the guy who is now basically the head or the president of the Taliban.
Right. Or at least, so it's disputed. He's like because there isn't a very, very clear hierarchy, the question always becomes, is it the main political spokesperson who's the leader, or is it the religious leader who's the leader? And Mullah Omar was both. And since then, it's always been some kind of power sharing. So right now it's between the Mullah Ghani guy that was let go by Trump, and this other guy whose name I'm not even going to try to pronounce, who's the religious leader. Many consider that guy to be the religious leader, but they're kind of, oddly enough, they're kind of decentralized at the top, at the leadership. There's often not a single leader except for Mullah Omar.
So right now you're seeing it all over Facebook, you're seeing it all over Twitter, social media, you're seeing it in the news. You've got the left blaming the right and the right blaming the left, and they are just throwing at each other and quoting these two quotes, saying if you would have followed Trump's plan, this wouldn't have happened, or if Trump was still in office, this wouldn't have happened, or he left him in the strongest position militarily since 2001. But Edward Snowden may have said it best when he said, if you think this is a Biden versus Trump thing, you are really missing the scale of this 2-decade tragedy. Yep. And he is, as per usual with him, he is 100% correct.
Yep. This was going... I remember being a it's funny, I said this to Matt Kibbe. It's so weird, like, how things come full circle. Matt Kibbe was one of the people, telling me through, his Freedom Works emails back in like the early 2000s that this was ridiculous and it was doomed to failure. And I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about. I agree with you on literally everything else, but not this. And he would say, that this imperial foreign policy, domestic spying, all that's not going to help. And then obviously talking with my friends who started coming home from these wars and realizing that it was a bunch of garbage we were being told of what was going on over there. But I was talking to Matt Kibbe on Twitter, and I remembered that my dad said when we first invaded Afghanistan, he said eventually, I forget how he worded it exactly. He said, they're going to go in and that's going to go fine. But eventually they're going to stick around way too long. They're going to fail at every single one of their goals. They're going to leave and they're going to abandon all of their allies there, like we did. He was in Vietnam, like we did to the Montagnards when we left Vietnam. And if that isn't exactly what happened, and it wasn't, I love my father, but it's not like he's some renowned political saint. This is what was going to happen.
And this was what was going to happen, and it was sealed the moment that the Afghan president Mohammed Ashraf Ghani fled the country.
Yep.
That was the moment that there was no question that this was over.
Yep.
Kabul did not fall. It was surrendered. This was not a battle. They walked in and just took it. You're seeing all over the news and in the media that the government toppled, or you have people saying that they came in and guns blazing and like just murdered a bunch of people. But they were saying that they're just kind of like they're letting you infer that from what they're saying.
There wasn't a government. If something crumbles the very second an outside entity isn't actively propping it up, this was a weekend at Bernie's government. Like the minute that the U.S. is like, no, we're not doing this anymore. In fact, they were even still propping it up, but just not as much. It just completely crumbled. The everyone abandoned their posts, or almost everyone. The president left the country. Like there was no government. It was all a bunch of garbage.
So their government that they have been building for 20 years, that we have been building for 20 years, their government in the last election, which was 2019, I believe, there's roughly 38 million people living in Afghanistan. 1.8 million, I think I don't have this in the notes, 1.8 million people decided to vote. And that's because they had such trust and faith in their elected leaders. But that 1%, not even that, 3% ish of the people decided to vote in the election. This was a weak government that was just fraught with scandals and with corruption, and they had no faith in them. Understandably so. Absolutely understandably so.
Justifiably
so. Justifiably so. So that the moment that somebody walked in, a weak government that is no longer going to be able to get the sweet, sweet American taxpayer money, said, okay, I'm out, and left.
Yep. And then instead now is the Taliban, which is a group of warlords who subjugate people under their rule, which is completely different than government because it's... So Spike Cohen had to say about the... Spike Cohen, he was the 2020 Libertarian vice presidential candidate, if you recall, came in third. Spike Cohen said this about the what happened with the what's going on with the people that helped in Afghanistan, helped the U.S. war effort. Had the U.S. government actually cared about the lives of the thousands of people who helped them, they would have fast-tracked their visas so they could come here. They didn't. Remember that when you see government and corporate media pretend to lament their fate. All this stuff you're seeing now, oh, these poor... Meet Ashram. Ashram was an interpreter for the military, and now he can't get out, and they keep denying his visa. What a terrible, terrible thing that's happening over there. If the government and corporate media had cared, because the corporate media is an extension, it's the narrative and propaganda wing of the U.S. government and has been for years, certainly post 9/11. If they gave a damn about any of this, then they would have fast-tracked those visa applications. They'd all be here or in Guam or at a freaking, one of Joe Biden's kiddie camps on the border or whatever. They'd have been over here somewhere or in U.S. territory being processed or already have been processed. They didn't give a damn about them any more than they gave a damn about all the troops coming home with PTSD and traumatic brain. They don't care about anyone.
So as totalitarian governments are known to do, the Taliban took zero time in collecting the guns from the people. Because as we all know, governments are terrorist organizations, but I repeat myself, will protect you if you give up your weapons.
Yes. I'm going to look up the quote because I had tweeted about this as well. I said, give us your guns. You have nothing to fear. It's for your safety.
Every
government that's ever, I know. Every government that you relied heavily on my Twitter feed for this segment, and I'm fine with that.
I did.
That where did I put that? Man, I've posted a lot. Yeah. So here's the quote from the Taliban official. "We understand people kept weapons for personal safety. They can now feel safe. We are not here to harm innocent civilians." That is, if it wasn't the words of someone whose organization was about to murder possibly millions, certainly hundreds of thousands of people, it would be pretty solid comedy. Like that is them thumbing the nose at the neoliberal establishment that controls the Western world and media. It's like, oh yeah, well, that disarming the population has nothing to do with hurting innocent civilians. It's for their safety. We're gonna keep them safe. And then the media has to go, wait a minute, I think this government might be disarming civilians so they can hurt them. Not for their safety.
Not for safety.
And the Taliban the Taliban's like, no, it's for their safety. What are you talking about? It's a buyback program, really.
And if anybody needs evidence that this is going to end terribly, you can look back on hundreds of years of history. Native Americans to the freed slaves to the Jews in Germany. Really almost everywhere.
Everyone.
Everywhere.
Every time. The Great Leap Forward, the Khmer Rouge, the slaughter of the Montagnards post Vietnam War. all of the various attempted uprisings during the Soviet era, even before firearms. They used to disarm peasants of sharp tools and implements that they could use to rise up against, that the serfs could use to rise up against the royalty and aristocracy. Whenever there were times of unrest, they'd say, for your safety, we're going to take all your pointy stuff. Like, I mean, this is what they do. And it's always done with, hey, this is for your safety. No, it's not. No, it's not. Just because they've gotten better at propagandizing that to us doesn't change the actual effort. Politicians, the one thing that keeps politicians in check is the fact that they have an acute awareness of the fact that they too are soft bodies that can catch lead like literally everyone else. The less they feel that acute awareness of that, the more likely they are to infringe on our lives, rights, and property, all the way up to rounding us up and killing us. And that's what that's all about.
I want to do some quick math real. Well, I'm not going to do it. My phone's going to do it.
Some quick math.
Divided by 125,642,790. So for every U.S. taxpayer, because there's 125,642,791 U.S. income taxpayers.
Okay.
For every U.S. taxpayer, this war has cost $15,918.
Are you doing that based on the 2 trillion number or
that's just the 2 trillion. That's not the 6. That's the 2 trillion. You can triple that number.
Yeah. That number becomes like 60,000 or 50 something thousand.
49,000 ish.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I was wondering, I needed to know at that minute for no reason. So we talked about it earlier, but people are so desperate to leave that they were hanging on to the side of a C-17. I didn't want to show that video because I don't want this video to be taken off of YouTube. And we've had that issue before when we showed somebody perish at the hands of a cop. But you can find it on YouTube. It is out there, and you can watch there. Yeah. And you can watch this if you have not seen it. It is heartbreaking to watch that people are so desperate to leave. They're so desperate to leave Afghanistan that they are hanging on to the side of an airplane that is going to be traveling roughly 200 miles an hour at an altitude of 10,000 feet.
Yeah.
And they're willing to take that chance over staying.
Yeah.
That the logic in that shows you how desperate they are to leave. And it is one of the, like, when I first saw it, I was gut-wrenchingly upset because you guys have watched us many times, and there have been many people who have passed away that we have talked about, and I have watched all of those videos, and some of them hit me hard, and some of them, I'm just like, yep, saw that one coming, whatever. That hit me so hard because that is how bad they needed to leave their country. That is how bad they needed to leave their homeland. That is how bad that they needed to leave because the people that they thought were going to protect them left, and they knew that they were assuredly going to die, that they were willing to take that chance. And it hurts to watch. It hurts to watch. Knowing that that some of them hit houses when they landed makes it extra sad because you've now destroyed somebody's house that lives there. But no matter what, it is hard to watch, and it is gut-wrenching, and it is heartbreaking.
Yeah. And I saw some people commenting on it. They're like, wow, they're so stupid. They didn't realize that plane was going to go really fast and really high. They've watched airplanes going in and out of the country. They have a concept of what's about to happen. I think the calculus there, which is clearly a very desperate calculus, is I have little to no chance to actually surviving this. But if that's the case, then at least I'll die relatively quickly, having tried to get out. Whereas, and on the off chance I'd actually be, which you can't, like, let's be clear, it is impossible to successfully hold on to the side of an airplane that's going hundreds of miles an hour, tens of thousands of feet in the air. Like, that's not a thing. This isn't the movies. You can't do that. You might last a couple minutes, not these several hours the thing is going to be in the air. The alternative to them was staying there and likely dying. And if you look at those videos, almost all of them were men of military age. This was your vaunted Afghan army trying to get out. How'd they get on the base? This was the Afghan army trying to leave. They were that desperate to get out. And then that really drives home just how desperate this entire situation were. That 300,000 that Joe Biden said that are the best arms that they wanted out. Everyone that did not want to live under Taliban rule wanted out bad. They still want out bad. This is a 20-year investment by the U.S. taxpayer. Thousands lost to the U.S. military. Thousands more that are continuing to suffer under trauma. Hope held by millions of Afghanistans. In basically one day, all of that went up. You have 6,000 dead Americans. Thousands, millions of Afghans have died at this point, right?
I thought it was 128,000.
Well, I know there was a 200 and something thousand figure, but I thought that was just for the last couple of years. But hundreds of thousands.
I could not find an accurate number, so I just said thousands upon thousands because I didn't think it hit the millions.
Yeah, 250,000 displaced last year. It's insane.
Right. And to quote the David O. Russell movie, Three Kings, George Clooney says in his first appearance, I don't even know what we did here.
Yep.
Because I don't know what we did there.
Yeah. Like I said, the only prism that looking through it makes sense is how do you maximize profits for central bankers and the military industrial complex? Then it makes sense. Then this ridiculous, as Scott Horton put it, fool's errand makes sense. It's not a fool's errand. It's a rope-a-dope to extract money from the taxpayer and keep us scared. And however many people had to die in the process, screw them.
So a lot of people are out there and they're asking, whose fault is Afghanistan? That
Where do we start?
Is a very difficult question to answer. But I could say that it's been 80-ish years, 90-ish years. Wow, 90-ish years. 90-ish years of American presidents, because we have used a muscular liberalism policy on foreign policy, starting with FDR, and it really hasn't changed since. Basically, every president since then has either emboldened the military by giving them more money, or they've held it status quo, saying, we don't need to expand. We don't need to spend more on the military. In fact, I'm going to cut the military, but they never do. And because of this, they are required to have reasons to continue needing this money, to be able to say, hey, I need this funding. You have to pass this. This is for our military. So long conflicts made sense if you were looking to pump billions or trillions into defense budgets.
Yep. It's a jobs program, jobs and money program.
Yep. And then, of course, as we all know, this was bolstered by the War on Terror, which, as an aside, I don't know if everybody has seen this. I wish I had gotten the picture for it, but anyone who is reluctant to COVID regulations is now considered a potential terrorist, which gives carte blanche to the different administrations to unlock more spending to push their agendas without increasing the military budget. So they can say, I didn't increase the military budget, but I need to tap into this emergency spending in order to help pay for this military thing.
Yep. This has been a long running thing.
This has been a long running thing. And every person who has been in charge for 90-ish years long before this war started, helped cultivate this foreign policy, allowed for a meltdown of this magnitude to happen. And all of them have this on their hands. All of them.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you go back to like historically, I would actually argue, and Kenneth Ebel mentioned this as well, it actually probably the foreign imperialism probably started with Teddy Roosevelt, the Spanish-American War, concentration camps in the Philippines, taking over and doing the Panama Canal, funding it without any congressional approval, and then saying, well, I did it so I could get it. I figured I'd get permission, or I'd get forgiveness more easily than permission afterwards.
Right. They would spend months debating me, and not instead of debating whether we should do this.
Yeah, debating whether it was right to do it as opposed to whether we should do it.
Right.
Then there was the break, right? So you had Taft after Roosevelt, who kind of went back to a more standard, actually back then considered conservative, way of saying, no, we shouldn't be getting involved in foreign wars. Then you had Woodrow Wilson, who World War I, which we had no business getting into, and which is still one of the most high body counts that the U.S. has ever had for something that literally did not involve us even remotely. There was no threat to us whatsoever. And then you had a return to Warren G. Harding and Calvin Coolidge and Hoover, who had a more typical U.S. foreign policy. And then, yeah, pretty much from Roosevelt, from FDR forward, every president has either expanded upon the military-industrial complex or at least maintained the status quo, like Carter or Nixon.
Right. So what I was going to Right. So what I was going to say, like, yeah, I agree with you on Teddy Roosevelt. He was the one that got us into the foreign skirmishes, but he wasn't liberally bolstering the military at that time. He just sent the military. He didn't like expand it in order to do it.
Yeah. That's fair.
So he just sent people to do it, and it wasn't like he was like, okay, let's get more troops and do this. But the FDR started that. That's what I was referring to in this.
The expansion of the actual complex.
The expansion of the actual complex. That was what I was referring to, and I think that more of this starts. Yes, a lot of it starts. The mindset starts with Teddy Roosevelt and going over there. But the gall to continually expand and then need reasons to have the expansion starts with FDR.
Yeah, that is fair, and that's true. It's interesting, and maybe it's because our audience is so well informed, but we often hear, Eisenhower tried to stop this and tried to warn us. Well, no, after he left office, or once he was leaving office, he warned about a military-industrial complex that he had no problem using for 8 years. In fact, one of his crowning achievements as president was Operation Ajax, which arguably kicked off the Middle East conflicts by having the CIA lead a coup against the democratically elected leader of Iran, who had just deposed their brutal Shah. They reinstalled the Shah, who went back to brutalizing the people that had deposed him. Was an absolutely brutal ruler, and as a result, the revolution happened in Iran. And because of continued aggravation of the revolutionaries, because you'll remember, we remember, that there was this students' revolution in Iran, and then they immediately took the hostages in the U.S. That's not true. That happened months later. It was because of constant aggravation and instigation against the revolutionaries to try to frustrate them and bring back the Shah. But that all started with Operation Ajax under Eisenhower. Eisenhower also did Operation, I'm forgetting what it was called, but in Central America, to depose leaders by introducing blights and coups and all sorts of other things to depose leaders that he felt like weren't sufficiently pro-U.S. So he was just as bad as arguably one of the worst, especially since he then turned around and said, we got to worry about this military-industrial complex. It's like, yeah, it's a great term, but you did it.
I was going to say this is also the fault of nearly 100 years of Congress saying yes to anything that whoever's in charge at that time puts in front of them and says, hey, I need funding for this. I know it's not in our budget, but I need funding for it. So can you give me emergency funding? 100 years of this, which technically can fall on the voter because we continue to vote these people in. Probably not many of the people here watching us.
And for 20 years, literally writing a blank check, AUMF, authorization of use of military force, that said that the president, not just even President Bush, whoever's president, can declare war whenever they want with no sunset against whomever they want, as long as it's to fight terrorism. And guess who voted for that? Ron Paul. But, guess who else voted for that? Joe Biden. And yes, Ron Paul voted for it, but he also said that he also then continued to vote against every authorization after that. He was in favor of a temporary authorization. In retrospect, it was probably one of his biggest failings. He's not perfect, but I like to mention the fact that he voted for it. But anyway, Joe Biden voted for it, and Joe Biden supported this war and has supported this war from day one. And then in a rare based Biden moment, in the last couple days was like, hey, look, if they're not willing to defend their country, then we're not going to keep staying in there. And I'm like, yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think you've been wrong literally every day up until this point.
Literally every other time.
Like every moment, including that ridiculous clip that we showed earlier where Biden said, oh, no, they're going to be fine. They got 300,000
It's not
strong.
inevitable. It's not inevitable. It's not inevitable.
Come on, Jack. The bunny's in the plaster cast.
So this can't, what's happening in Afghanistan cannot be blamed on Biden, and it can't be blamed on Trump. And to their credit, both of them wanted to pull out.
Yeah.
Trump so he could avoid the child support. Both of them wanted to pull.
People don't know this, but he also bribed the Taliban to say that he never met with them. That's not true.
But yeah, to both their credit, they wanted to pull the troops out, and I believe that the reason that Biden got so based over the last couple of days was because it failed miserably, and he didn't want to admit it was a failure.
But you know what? Fine. If that's what it took for that man to say there was no need to continue this, it was stupid, we're leaving, let us learn a lesson from it, then I'll take it. If that's what it took, then I'll take that.
Them pulling us, the United States, pulling out of Afghanistan is not a bad move. It is not a bad move. What happened is not a result of us pulling out. It was an inevitable scenario that cost the U.S. taxpayers $2 trillion and thousands of lives to hold it off for 2 decades.
Thankfully, the bankers and the military-industrial complex made off like bandits, which was the whole point of all this. And the lesson here is
so did the Taliban army, man. The Taliban army got so many weapons.
If this was a game of Call of Duty, then, I mean...
they picked up the biggest cash.
This is the biggest drop ever.
Yeah.
The Pentagon is basically like a terrible player that just constantly ammo drops. But again... It makes sense if you want endless, unwinnable skirmishes that justify the constant patronage of crony corporations built around the cottage industry of endless war. It's a gigantic, murderous, cynical, sociopathic boondoggle. And again, we focus on the sunk cost, those who have died, those who have, the money that's been wasted, people that have suffered. We're not looking at the potential cost. We're not looking at what has been done to Afghanistan and what it could have been if we didn't do this. Imagine if after 9/11, the U.S. government had gone to the Taliban and said, here is our evidence that bin Laden did this. Which, by the way, that's how extradition works. Do you know why it took so long for the Spanish government to finally agree to hand over John McAfee to the U.S. government? Because there was an extradition process. Evidence has to be presented. A legal warrant has to be presented. If there's any kind of discrepancies in how punishment is doled out between the countries, they work that out. Or unless they have some kind of existing treaty over such a thing. It doesn't happen overnight. If in that the U.S. government had said, listen, well, first of all, if the U.S. government had left the Middle East, there wouldn't have been a 9/11, but that's a whole other subject. Let's say that George Bush inherits this right now, right? He's president, doesn't have time to pull out of the Middle East. 9/11 happens, and he goes, okay, we're going to go to the Taliban and say, we are going to give you evidence that bin Laden did this, and you are going to hand him over to us where he will receive a fair and open trial according to already agreed to international standards, and then he will not receive the death. That was going to be one of their things. Actually, no, they don't care about that. This isn't Europe. They wouldn't care if he got the death penalty. So, and that's what will happen. He will receive punishment according to that. And in exchange, we'll have a trade deal with you. We'll have, some kind of, you got any bridges that need to be rebuilt? And I mean, again, I'm a libertarian. I'm not about spending taxpayer money, but we could have spent like a couple $100 million and, made their day. And it would be pennies, fractions of fractions of fractions of fractions of fractions of a penny what we ended up spending instead. You could have spent a couple $100 million on, building some roads and bridges and, putting up a statue to whatever and make, well, no, they're fundamentalist Muslims. They don't like statues, but putting up stuff that they need and maybe some State Department school program or something, a couple $100 million thrown at them, they'd be thrilled. And now imagine how much better Afghanistan would be. All the lives that weren't lost. Imagine how much better the U.S. would be off. No Afghan war, no Iraq war. Bin Laden is brought to justice almost immediately. Within a year of 9/11, he and his cohorts are put on trial for their crimes and executed or put in prison forever. No Guantanamo Bay, no endless spying programs, no trillions of dollars wasted, no thousands of Americans' lives wasted and thousands more irreparably damaged, permanently damaged, millions, tens of millions of people across the planet murdered. None of that. No empowering of Al-Qaeda, no creation of ISIS, no Arab Spring, none of that. That's what our
Tim
policy
Weissong
needs to be.
Tim Weissong in the comments just said, if only they had cared as much about bringing Osama bin Laden to justice in 2001 as they cared about bringing McAfee to justice in 2021.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. And now, thanks to all the powers that you all, or not you all, that most voters approved of the government getting, that's now going to get used against vaccine hesitant people that don't like the lockdowns, people that, think that ivermectin is a good treatment for COVID, which I don't even know if ivermectin is a good treatment for COVID, but you should be able to think that. You should be allowed to think that thing, whether or not it's true. And the fact that the government's saying you're not allowed to think that kind of makes me think it probably is true. Or at the least,
right. People are out there saying that they think that the earth is flat and that crystals cure cancer. And they're still on YouTube.
And they're still on YouTube. Here, speaking about COVID, I've a couple times mentioned the fact that there are studies in multiple countries that show that if your vitamin D levels are at or above the optimal level, your likelihood of ending up in a hospital drops exponentially. It drops to like 95% lower than if your vitamin D levels are too low. And that's adjusted for age, that's adjusted for comorbidities, that's adjusted for body mass index. However, whatever you are otherwise, if your vitamin D levels are good, then you are very unlikely to die from this thing. Vitamin D is cheap and generic and has basically no side effects.
You can also get it for free.
Yeah.
Just go outside.
You can just go outside, which makes everyone stay inside sound even worse. That's a whole other subject. But the point of all that is the fact that when I tell people that, they go, you have to be careful telling people that. And I say, why? Because it's not true. And they go, well, no, but you know what they're doing. That is some frightening shit. And the apparatus that is being used to censor and spy on and block people has its roots in the Patriot Act and every other anti-terrorism act moving forward from there. That's why they're no longer saying terrorist. Now they're saying domestic extremist, because it's extreme to say lockdowns are bad. It's extreme to say that, the vaccines aren't the cure-all that they're claiming that they are. This is what happens when you give them power. It always starts with something else. It always starts with, this is just going to be used against, anti-vax people. This is just going to be used against freed slaves and natives. This is just going to be used against Al-Qaeda. This is just going to be used against drug kingpins. This is just going to be used against mass murderers. This is just going to be used against child porn. This is just going to be used against these terrible, inexcusable, and indefensible things until it's not. We talked about that last week with the child porn
Apple
filter.
Yeah, with Apple. Yeah.
Same exact thing.
I was going to say, nice callback to last week.
Yep. So, speaking of good things.
John Morrissey just asked, what is the record longest episode of the show? Are you close tonight? No.
No. Oh, John.
That's cute, John.
Summer boy.
No.
Oh, John.
No.
Johnny.
I actually tried to make this a short show too.
This
So
isn't
went
even
over
the
2
longest episode for this month, John. John. This we've had episodes that were so long that Facebook shut us off because there's a 4-hour limit to live stream.
4-hour limit.
No, this is not. No, we're just getting
YouTube shut us off and then Facebook cut us off like 2 minutes later.
Eric JV says, "Hi Spike." Hi Eric. Yeah, it was like 4+ hours. We ended up winding down because they're like, well, we're already off Facebook, so let's go ahead and wind it down. And
then we got kicked off a couple minutes later, and
on YouTube.
It was like, I think 4 hours and 10 minutes is the record because we got cut off everywhere. That was election night 2018.
Yes. 2018 election night. Brian Sutton says, constant pain from my 1984 military TBI and the resulting depression caused my vitamin D levels to be extremely low. Most of the time I feel like a vampire. Leaving the house in the daylight is very difficult. Brian, first of all, I'm sorry you're going through that. I will say, I'm not a doctor. Talk with your medical professional. But there are vitamin D supplements that you can take that are very safe and effective. Not sure if they work for you. There might be a counterindication. Definitely talk to your medical professional, but do know there are very good vitamin D supplements. So MS, the higher your vitamin D levels are within the safe range, the less likely you are to have relapses and progression. And sure enough, my vitamin D was very, very low when they first started tracking it. I now take a nightly vitamin D supplement, 10,000 international units, plus vitamin K2, and I'm now on the high end of normal. Or optimal, and it among other things, and vitamin D is such a crucial building block to your metabolic process. I would strongly recommend asking your doctor about, and it's over the counter. Like I get the really like expensive stuff, and I think it's like $35-40 for a 60 pill supply. So it's like $15-20 a month, something like that. And you can get cheaper stuff where it's like a big giant bottle of it for like $30, and there's like 180 pills in there. It's really cheap, and it's over the counter. I would talk to your medical professional. So if they've never mentioned it, go to like a walk-in and ask them. Like honestly,
go to
like
a walk-in.
VA. I mean, I don't have to tell you what the VA is like. Go. Even if you have to pay out of pocket just to talk. I don't know what other things you're on. I don't know if vitamin D is counterindicated for different drugs. I know it's fine for what I take. So I don't want to I'm not a doctor. I am Jewish, but I'm not a doctor, and I'm definitely not a lawyer. So go speak to a doctor and ask if just a regular over-the-counter vitamin D supplement is going to interact with anything else you're taking or whatever. So just check that out, because it might help you. Because by the way, vitamin D, low vitamin D levels can lead to increased anxiety and depression. It is a very, very crucial part of multiple processes in your body. So it's worth asking about. So update on the Tumbler.
I don't think there was one bid during the Afghanistan segment. Understandably, Understandably. So right now the high bid is 300.
Is 300? Okay, so the current high bid is yes, you're welcome, Herosphere TCG, for the reminder to take your vitamins. Take your vitamins, folks, if you're taking vitamins.
So right now the current leader is 300. We are going to be starting to wrap the show up.
Yeah, we'll start and wrap the show up. And the tumbler, one last time, this is an incredible one-of-a-kind opportunity to get a custom-made Waffle House Caucus Tumbler made by Defy The Power, signed by me and Matt Wright, and triple coated, I don't know, multiple times coated in epoxy, so that even after you wash it 10,000 times, it will our signatures and the design work will remain. These things are incredibly high quality. It's a 20-ounce tumbler. Cold drinks stay cold for up to 12 hours. Hot drinks stay hot for up to 10 hours. Incredible craftsmanship. I have a Defy the Power tumbler. They make them themselves. Incredible craftsmanship. Really, really great work by them.
So right now it's 300.
Well, no, Sheila Foster. I have to wake up for work at 5 a.m. If I win the mug, let me know. 500.
But she's the one that has the 300.
I guess Sheila, before you go, confirm that you just bid 500. I think she just wants to make sure she gets it. Thanks, Midwest guy. Thank you for tuning in. By the way, just out of curiosity, is that your real, that's your real voice?
Yeah, I've been wondering that. I've wanted to ask, but this show wasn't one that we could easily cut away. But yeah, is that your real voice?
Because that was a very impressive Midwestern accent. Good for you.
Good for you. Confirmed for Garrett. 500. Okay, so 500 is the new high bid.
Okay, that's awesome. So the
awesome.
Current high bid
thank you, Sheila.
Thank you, Sheila. And I'm guessing that might remain the high bid. Certainly going to give anyone who's watching a chance to make a bid higher than 500. But other than that, I'm.
So while we are waiting to see if anybody bids higher than that,
yes.
Who do you have on tomorrow?
Oh yes. Oh, we've had the tumbler on the whole time. Oh wow, that really is Midwest guys. Real. That was a very, very Midwestern accent. I'm very impressed with you.
It was a very Midwestern accent.
Extremely Midwestern accent. So my guest tomorrow is King Randall, who is he is a, I believe, 21-year-old Marine vet who started a school for boys, for black boys. He's black, and he saw a lot of boys that were being underserved. And so he finds, we're going to talk more about it, but he actually finds basically wayward youth and adopts them and then teaches them. And in this school that he has set up, and he's teaching them, not just, he's teaching them marketable skills, he's teaching them the basics of education, he's teaching them to strive for excellence, he's teaching them, he's more of, I guess, like a conservative, so he's teaching them like traditional values, and he's teaching them basically structure, and how to thrive and prosper and be outstanding. And I know what you're thinking. That's incredible. Surely the government of whatever state he's in is helping him. Nope. The state of Georgia has actively tried to stop him. He was trying to buy an abandoned school from them, school property from them, and they told him that he could only use it if he used approved public school curriculum and carried it out in the fashion that their school district calls for, even though it's literally an abandoned school and it's just sitting there lying fallow. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about it. Yeah, he is a BAMF. I'm really, really, really excited to talk to King tomorrow. And then you have the writer's block on Thursday night. Who's your guest?
I do. I have Kevin Kahn. He ran for U.S. House in Ohio's first congressional district.
Yes.
And he lost in the general election on November 3rd. So I'm excited to get him on, find out what he's been doing since the election. You apparently know who he is. And you seem to like him a whole lot.
Yes. He's a super cool guy. He is the guy that set up the relationship, the ongoing relationship with libertarians in Ohio, and both the Heartbeat movement, which is a police accountability movement, and Accountability Now Ohio, which is a group seeking to end qualified immunity. I'm actually going to be speaking at their event on this coming Sunday. He's the one that has, he and Chrissy Wickers are the two main people that have been working to foster that relationship. And there are many others. Jimmy and Connie have been a part of all the different events going on there as well. A lot of Ohio and surrounding libertarians have been involved, but Kevin Kahn's been probably the single biggest person involved in that moving forward. So he's a great guy. I love working with him.
So yeah, looking forward to having him on Thursday, and then on Friday there will be a brand new episode of Cajun and Eskimo from bayous to igloos. And then on Monday, because we have different Sabbaths, so we take the weekend off.
Yes. Well, this weekend I'll be in Ohio for the Libertarian Party of Ohio Conference. Check that out if you're anywhere near Columbus, Ohio. Come on out and be a part of it and come meet me. And I'll be speaking on Sunday at the Accountability Now Ohio event. And I'll also be doing an escape room. That'll all be on my social media very soon. And then on Monday,
a brand new episode of Mr. America, The Bearded Truth with Jason Lyon.
Yes.
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock Eastern. And
then
on Tuesday.
I think, I don't want anybody to quote me on this, but I believe that on Monday, Jason has a guest who's not a real libertarian, and they're going to be talking about gun rights.
Oh, nice. That'll be fun. That'll be fun.
Yeah,
and then on
that'll
Tuesday,
be a good episode.
Yeah, that will be a good episode. So then on Tuesday, in the morning, if you live near Montgomery, Alabama, come out to the Rally for Justice. I will be there. Vermin Supreme will be there. Jonathan Reels will be there. Portia Shepard will be there. A lot of incredible libertarians in Alabama and across the country will be there in Montgomery. The information will be on, all of this is on spikecohen.com, by the way, but come in and join me there. And then Tuesday night, right back here, same muddied place, same muddied time, another brand spanking magnificent episode of the Muddy Waters of Freedom, where Matt Wright and I parse through the week's events like the sweet little chipper little monkeys that we are. And hopefully the news will be less devastating next week than it was this week, because my God.
This was the worst notes that I've had to do in a long time.
Was bad. This was bad. This sucked.
This one was not fun.
This was bad. So we're going to go ahead and close out. Going once, going twice. Sold the tumbler to Sheila for
Sheila Foster.
Sheila Foster for $500. We will be getting in touch with you, Sheila. Congratulations. You will be getting this incredible one-of-a-kind tumbler, and we are really, 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 really appreciative to you, and as is Defy the Power. Matt, if people were going to try to, I don't know, find out about Muddy Waters Media and watch our shows on the internet, is that even possible? And if so, how?
It is possible. All one would have to do, if you're one of those old school people who really enjoy the soulful, dulcet tones of our voices, is head on over to anchor.fm/muddiedwaters.
Hi, everybody. Oh, you betcha. That's my Midwestern accent.
Oh, you betcha. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you betcha.
Oh, no.
If you all want to donate to us, I can't whisper into a Midwestern accent. That's really difficult.
Oh, you can give us some money, yeah.
You can donate at anchor.fm/muddiedwaters.
Yes.
Or like Midwest Guy, you can leave us messages that we will play live
on
the air
already. Oh, I didn't know that was gonna do that.
Don't you know? Don't you know you could be a part of this show? Don't you know? Oh yeah. Oh
also make donations of money to us. Yeah, there's a donate button, and you can press it over right there. You can go up, and press the button to go up, and then you can make donations to us, and then we look at our bank account and we go, oh, look at all the money there. Yeah. Now you don't have to leave us messages, but you oofta. You don't have to leave us. You don't have to give us money, but we'd like you more if you do. You want to be liked by us, and we'll put you in the outro to say thank you for your donation there. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Or you can find this and every other episode at muddiedwatersmedia.com.
That was a very creepy way to end this terrible episode, and I'm happy that that's how it happened, because God. So, folks, thanks again for tuning into this episode. It wasn't a fun subject. None of them were.
It wasn't.
They were another. Yeah, those weren't fun, but you were fun to hang out with, and congratulations to Sheila. And we will see you tomorrow on My Fellow Americans, and then the following day on the Writer's Block and everything else. And we will see you here next week. Thank you so much. And where we're going,
we don't need roads.